You've done it 100 times. You peel back the lid of your yogurt, and there it is. That thin, cloudy liquid pooled on top, and without even thinking, you tip it into the sink. Or you strain it off, or you stir it away a little annoyed it was there at all. If that's you, I want you to know something. You're not alone. Almost everyone does it. And today we're going to fix that, because that liquid you've been pouring down the drain your whole life is the same thing that one Sardinian shepherd, a man I'll call Giovanni, and 1,000 years of shepherds before him have refused to waste. Not because they were poor, though they were. Because they somehow understood something about the aging body that our modern medicine is only now catching up to. Now let me be honest with you right from the start, because that's the only way I know how to do this. No single food will make you live to 100. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. The people of Sardinia don't live long because of one magic ingredient. They live long because of a whole way of life, but inside that way of life there is one humble, almost free food. The one Giovanni's family never once wasted, that does something specific. Something that may matter more after the age of 60 than almost anything else on your plate. And it has almost nothing to do with your heart, or your weight, or the numbers your doctor usually chases. It has to do with whether at 85 you carry your own groceries up the stairs, or whether someone has to carry them for you. Stay with me, because by the end of this you're going to look at that little carton in your refrigerator very differently. Let me name it plainly. The liquid is called whey. It's what's left when milk becomes cheese. The cloudy water that separates out and gets thrown away. In Sardinia, they never threw it away. Picture a man. We'll call him Giovanni. 97 years old, living in the Ogliastra Mountains, in the very heart of what researchers named a blue zone. One of only a handful of places on Earth where reaching 100 is common enough that scientists came to find out why. Giovanni still walks his hills, still carries his own wood, still has a handshake that surprises his grandson. And nearly every morning of his long life, Giovanni has eaten something made from that leftover whey. His people call it ricotta, which in Italian literally means recooked. Because they took the watery byproduct that other cheesemakers discarded, they heated it a second time, and they pulled one more soft, white, protein-rich food out of what the rest of the world called waste. They wasted nothing. And here is the first mystery I want you to sit with. Sardinia raises nearly half of all the sheep in Italy. Giovanni's people had cheese. They had bread. They had wine. They could easily have let the whey run off into the fields. So why, of everything, did they build an entire tradition around saving the scraps? The answer is hiding in your muscles. And Giovanni's body has known it for 90 years, even though he has never once heard the word I'm about to teach you. Somewhere around your 40s, something quiet begins. Doctors have a name for it. Sarcopenia. But that word does it no justice. What it really is the slow, silent thinning of your muscle. A little each year. So gradual that no mirror ever warns you. You don't feel it happen. You just notice one day in your 70s that the jar is harder to open. That the stairs want the railing now. That rising from a low chair takes a small, private effort it never used to. And that thinning is not just about strength. Muscle is the scaffolding that holds up your whole later life. It's your balance, so you don't fall. It's your reserve, so that if illness comes, you have something in the tank to fight back with. I've come to think of muscle as the organ of independence, because when it goes, independence tends to leave with it. It is the difference between the person who hosts the holidays and the person who has to be picked up and driven to them. Giovanni, at 97, still hosts. That is the whole story, told in a single sentence. Now here is where it gets interesting. When scientists studied the oldest people in Sardinia's blue zone, 150 men and women, every one of them between 90 and 101 years old. They went in half expecting the answer to be the vegetables, the garden greens, the famous Mediterranean plants. But that is not quite what the numbers showed. The vegetables, on their own, barely moved the needle on how well these elders actually functioned, how well they walked, dressed, and lived on their own. The thread that kept surfacing instead was protein, a steady, everyday supply of it woven right through ordinary meals, not swallowed from a bottle, eaten as food. The very thing that humble Whey, that leftover ricotta, quietly delivered to men like Giovanni, every single day, for 90 years. And now the part I most want you to hear, because if all I've done so far is worry you, then I have failed you. Muscle is the most forgiving tissue in your entire body. Your bones are stubborn, your joints hold grudges, but muscle answers back. Study after study has shown that people in their 70s, their 80s, even their 90s can build strength again. Not to 20-year-old levels, let's be honest with each other, but enough. Enough to get up off the floor, enough to keep the stairs, enough to keep your life your own. It is almost never too late. Giovanni is living proof, and so are the people in the studies I'm about to show you. And the raw material your body needs to begin is sitting right now in the very carton you've been pouring into the sink. But here is the honest catch, so let me slow down. The Whey is not a magic potion. And this is where a great deal of the health advice you've heard gets it exactly backwards. You cannot drink your way to strong muscles. If protein alone were the answer, every supplement shelf in America would have cured aging by now. It hasn't. And the studies are honest about this, even when the advertisements are not. When researchers gave older adults quality protein and nothing else, the results were often disappointing. So what was Giovanni doing that the supplement bottle wasn't? That is the real secret. And it isn't one thing, it's the way a few simple things stack together. Let me walk you through them. And pay close attention to the third one, because it's the one almost everybody gets wrong. The first is the quality of the protein itself. Whey is unusually rich in something called leucine. Think of leucine as the light switch for muscle. Most proteins knock politely on the door. Leucine flips the switch on. It signals your body to actually begin laying down fresh muscle, brick by brick. And sheep's milk, the kind Giovanni's people used, is richer and more concentrated than the cow's milk most of us grew up on. The second is that it came fermented, that morning ricotta, that cultured sheep's milk yogurt they call Giudu. The fermenting cultures have already begun breaking the milk down for you, which is why so many people who can't handle a glass of milk anymore do just fine with these. It goes down gentler. It sits easier on an aging stomach. And after 60, easy on the gut is not a small thing. It's the difference between food you actually keep eating and food you quietly give up on. And the third, here it is on the screen, because I do not want you to miss it. Giovanni did not sit down after his ricotta. He walked. This is the piece the supplement companies can't put in a bottle, and so they quietly leave it out. Protein does not build muscle on its own. Protein plus movement builds muscle. The Whey hands your body the bricks. But walking, lifting, carrying, rising, that is the hand that lays them. One without the other is only half a sentence. Giovanni climbed his hills every single day, not as exercise, as life. And that ordinary, unremarkable walking is what turned his morning ricotta from a pleasant breakfast into 90 years of standing on his own 2 feet. And the fourth thing is the quiet one that binds the other 3 together. Giovanni never did any of this the hard way. He did it small, and he did it daily. For decades. A bowl and a walk. A bowl and a walk. That unremarkable rhythm repeated 10,000 mornings is what the human body actually runs on. Muscle is never built in one heroic week of trying. It is built in a long, ordinary life of showing up. Now I promised you science, not just stories. So let me give you the strongest piece I found. And I'll give it to you honestly. Warts and all. Researchers took older adults who were already losing muscle. The frail ones. The ones we too often quietly give up on. And they gave them a whey protein enriched with leucine and vitamin D. Then they had them move, and they measured week after week whether these elders could rise from a chair without pushing off with their hands. That one simple test, standing up from a chair, is among the truest predictors we have of how the rest of a person's life will go. The group that got the Whey and the movement, Giovanni's 2 lifelong habits split into a prescription, improved. They stood more easily. They carried more muscle on their frames than the group that did not. But honesty demands the whole picture. Not every study agrees perfectly. Whey on its own without the movement often does very little. Exactly as I told you. The power was never in the powder. It was always in the pairing. Yet when the food and the walking came together, in people we had all but written off, something that looked a great deal like reversal began. That is Giovanni's morning, rebuilt inside a laboratory. The Sardinian secret told in the language of science. So what do you actually do with this? Let me make it simple and let me make it cheap, because that is the entire point. First, stop pouring it away. That liquid on top of your yogurt is whey, protein and all. Just stir it back in. That single change costs you nothing, takes 3 seconds, and already you've stopped throwing out the very thing this whole video is about. Second, bring the real thing onto your plate. Ricotta cottage cheese. A good plain cultured yogurt, the tangy living kind. If you can find sheep's milk versions, better still, closer to what Giovanni actually eats. A few spoonfuls in the morning, when your body is most ready to use it. Let me make that even more real for you. Tomorrow, before the coffee, half a cup of plain cottage cheese or ricotta with a little fruit. Or that living, tangy yogurt with the whey stirred right back in. That is not exotic. That is not a special order from some health store. That is a Tuesday, and it quietly hands your muscles more of what they have been starving for than any powder in a plastic tub ever will. And the third, this is the one that surprised me most, because it costs nothing at all, and yet it's the one people skip. Move your body soon after you eat it. That same morning, not someday. Not a workout. I am not sending you to a gym. Just a walk to the mailbox and back. carrying the groceries in yourself instead of asking, standing up from your chair 10 times while the kettle boils. The protein opens the door, the movement walks through it. Do the two close together, and you have rebuilt, right there in your own kitchen, the exact rhythm that carried Giovanni to 97. Picture it. A quiet morning, a bowl of something soft and white and tangy, sunlight across the table. And then you rise, and you step outside, and the day takes you gently uphill. That is not a protocol. That is a life. Giovanni will not live forever. None of us will, and this was never about that. It was never really about 100 at all. It was about the 85-year-old version of you, and whether that person gets to stay in their own home, lift their own grandchild, and walk their own hills. Whatever your hills happen to be. The shepherds of Sardinia were not wiser than you. They were not luckier than you. They simply refused to throw away something good, and then they got up, and they moved. Giovanni is not a superhuman. He is just a man who never discarded the good thing, and never stopped walking. You can begin tomorrow morning. You already own everything you need. So here are the 3 things to carry with you. The same 3 that carried Giovanni up his hills for 90 years. Stir the whey back in instead of pouring it out. Put a little fermented, protein-rich dairy on your plate each morning, and move your body even a little soon after you eat. That's it. That is the whole secret it took researchers decades to confirm. Your body has an incredible capacity to heal and to rebuild. At 60, at 70, at 80, and yes, beyond. It has only been waiting for you to stop discarding the good things and start using them. Now, none of this replaces your doctor. If you live with kidney concerns, your protein needs are genuinely different, and that's a real and worthwhile conversation to have with them. Not a reason for fear, just a reason to ask. And please, never stop or change any medication over a video. Bring this to your next appointment instead. A good doctor will be glad you did. If this helped you see your own kitchen a little differently today, do one small thing. Share it with someone you love who is getting older. Which, when you think about it, is all of us. Somewhere in your life there is a Giovanni waiting to happen. It might even be you. That is the only way this reaches the people who need it most. And before you go, one last thread I have to pull, because it quietly changes everything I just told you. I told you to put a little of this protein on your plate in the morning. But there is one more thing I left out, and it may be the most overlooked of all. Most of us do the exact opposite of what an aging body needs. We eat almost no protein at breakfast, a little at lunch, and then pile most of it onto one big dinner. And after 60, a body handed all its protein in a single evening heap can only use a fraction of it. The rest is simply wasted. Next time I am going to show you the quiet way the Sardinians spread this across their whole day, without ever counting or measuring a thing. One small change in how you space out what you already eat, costing you nothing. That may do more for the strength of your later years than eating more of it ever could. I'll see you there. Take good care of yourself until then.